Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Hi, everyone. Today I am speaking with Winnie Look, who is the managing director of Rainbow Railroad, which is a global not-for-profit organization that helps LGBTQI plus people facing persecution based on their sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics. Winnie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And I'll be honest, the first thing I want to ask you is I see that, here it says LGBTQI plus. Now, I'm used to saying LGBTQ2 plus. Now am I doing it wrong by saying LGBTQ2 plus?
No, not at all. So
Okay.
in Canada, two is appropriate. North America, two is appropriate. Two-spirited, that's what the representation is. And I represent intersex. So intersex is when an individual has both sexual characteristics. And so, nope, not wrong at all. And it does change depending on the region you're in, and depending on really the audience you're speaking to as well. Over time, obviously, the acronym has expanded to be more inclusive, and that is essentially what it's trying to do, is to be as inclusive as possible, because there's not one way to identify it. Obviously, many ways, and it's open. So it's really dependent on the person and how they personally identify and how they express themselves, how they carry themselves in the world. So the way I look at it, it is up to the individual to identify and describe themselves however they feel most authentic and comfortable.
Perfect. Okay. And so you are an international group based out of Canada, right?
Yes. So we have both our Canadian and American charity status, our 501c3 in the States, but we received our Canadian charity status in 2013 and then in the States in 2015. It was a volunteer-run organization, so we existed since 2006. So between 2006 and 2013, it was a fully volunteer-run organization.
Wow. Okay, so for somebody that is listening and has no idea what Rainbow Railroad is, why don't you explain to us what it is?
Of course, yes. So we are an international organization and our mission is to help persecuted LGBTQI plus individuals who face extreme violence, persecution, government-enabled violence, where folks just do not have the protections that we do have in Canada here or in the States. I mean, the States are questionable sometimes, so their protections. But essentially, it is when there are no laws or regulations and that they are persecuted by the government, by the justice system. And there are still about 70 countries in the world that criminalize same-sex intimacies, and almost 10 that still punish by the death penalty. So those numbers are atrocious and devastating, and is the exact reason why Rainbow Railroad exists.
70 countries. And
Yes.
10. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So for, Winnie said that's hard for a lot of people to comprehend living in Canada, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we still have our own problems in Canada when it comes to, violence and discrimination.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about what is happening elsewhere in the world. Can you give us some examples of some people you maybe have helped?
Yes, of course. One of the actually most surprising, even though the stats I just given you are already shocking in themselves, but something even more surprising is a lot of the work that we do is based out of the Caribbean, actually, and Jamaica being one of the most violent, unfortunately, places for LGBTQI individuals. Because most people, when they think about the Caribbean, when they think of Jamaica, they think of the sandy beaches, the beautiful weather, the beautiful people, the culture, the food, all of that. Amazing. But unfortunately, when it comes to LGBTQI plus rights, they do not have any. And it's one of the most violent. And I remember, because I started at Rainbow Railroad in March of 2018. And I've been working within the community, the global community, for about now 20 plus years. So I previously worked for LGBTQI Film Festival, that presented the Toronto Ottawa Film Festival named Inside Out. So I've been working in the sphere for a very long time. But one of the most shocking stories that I heard when I started at Rainbow Railroad was in regards to how the mob mentality and how strategic people can be in Jamaica. And no, one of the incidents, or not even one, it's many, but it's one of their tactics, is actually throwing acid on someone's face and then throwing rice at the face to imprint and essentially scar you, so people will always know that you're queer or gay. So yes, I see your face.
Oh my
Shock.
gosh.
And your jaw dropping. And yes, so my reaction was similar, right? Because how violent, how strategic, right? It's a lot of planning and forward thinking. It's not just in the moment. It's not just a knee-jerk reaction, but it is the essential of planning, strategizing how to bring violence onto our people, essentially. So yeah, that was one of the most shocking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and there's obviously many.
Oh, I'm sure. So last year I interviewed David France, who directed the movie Welcome to Chechnya. I had no idea. I mean, I'll admit, right, that I thought I knew, I thought I understood, but I clearly did not understand what was happening elsewhere in the world, because what I saw in that movie, it made me sick to my stomach. That even family members really turning in their own sons and daughters it's just horrific. So do you think that for people that have no idea, but they are interested, is a movie like that a good place to start to sort of understand the scope of how dangerous it is?
Absolutely. Film is such an amazing vehicle and medium for communication and education, information sharing. I obviously have a passion for film because of my past career as well. But you cannot, the images, the video, the actual real footage that was captured, mobile footage from people. Unfortunately, it is not uncommon for the government to also encourage families to do honor killings, right? To actually, and in Chechnya in itself, in 2017, that's when the purge made international attention. And that's actually partly how people heard of us as well, Rainbow Railroad, because of our intervention in the Chechen crisis. And this particular crisis garnered international and global attention and spotlight and made headlines all over. But it is still a bit of a mystery why this particular crisis made such headlines, because crisis, purges, crackdowns happen all over the world all the time. But this one did bring a spotlight on the violence and the essential hunting down of people and entrapment of LGBTQI folks in that region, in Chechnya and in Russia. And that film was again, working within the sphere, but still watching it, I was in tears. I watched it with my staff team, and we were all still really moved by it, struck by it, and in awe and horrified by the situation that our CIs experience and endure, and why they reach out to us. You have to understand that people who reach out to us, we are their absolute last hope. We're not their plan A, B, C. We're their plan Z. Absolutely no one wants to flee their home country, their own village, their city, their town, away from their even though, although limited support, but they still have supports, whether it's friends or some family members that do support them. Maybe employment, if they're still closeted, they might still have a job. They don't have to learn a new language. So when they really reach out to us, they're at their best end. We're the last option. And last year we received close to 3,500. It was over 3,000 requests for help. Right? Yes. Again, and these are
wow.
Know us, right? So again, we only really got people's attention, give or take. Most people started learning about us from 2017 and on. And when you look at the trends of how quickly we've grown, it's only been in the last 5 years and more people have heard about us, both on the side of people who help and support, so our stakeholders, our donors, our supporters, but also people who reach out to us for help. So as more people know about us, our numbers for requests for help goes up. Last year during the pandemic, we didn't know how many people we were able to help. But luckily, we were able to help more people than we ever thought or projected. So we helped over 500 people. And so when you think about the discrepancy, though, right, over 3,000, 3,500 people requesting help, we were able to help over 500. Obviously, very, very proud that we were able to do that, to help that many people. But you're still left with the thousands of people that we cannot help. And they accumulate over year, right? It's not like we start a new year, January 1st, and we forget all the other people that requested for help years past. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of people in the queue requesting for help because they're in life-threatening, incredibly violent situations.
Yeah, they're scared for their lives. And I mean, so I'm trying to process everything you just said because that
It's a
was
lot.
a lot, right? Those are some pretty heavy numbers. And I totally agree with you about the movie Welcome to Chechnya. I felt the exact same way as you. And then as you were explaining how many people have requested help from Rainbow Railroad and how many you helped. And yes, 500 is incredible. Like, what an achievement. But we all still have to go to bed at night now knowing that there are at least 3,000 more people that still need help.
Rainbow Railroad, how we describe ourselves is that we're really merely the facilitators, right? We are helping the people who are making the request for help embarking on this journey. Again, really, really hard. It's such a hard and difficult journey to take. And then we're also partnering and we collaborate with all the partners on the ground, human rights defenders doing the work, other partner organizations doing the work, like Russia LGBT Network that was featured in that film. How important the work we do is dependent on the other people that is doing the ground or the work on the ground. So I just want to make sure.
I see. Okay, that helps me paint the picture of the connection now. Yeah, because there's people on the ground that are doing basically risking their lives. What they were doing were risking their lives trying to help
Other people.
Yes.
Depending on the regions, so we have partnerships and collaborations with many partners on the ground in regions, people who are fleeing, and then we also collaborate and partner with people in regions where people settle. So we cannot do this work on our own. We're constantly partnering, collaborating, reaching out within these networks to do our work. And the folks that reach out to us, because another common question is, how do we even triage? How do we even pick? How do we select the folks that we can help, right? Over 3,000 requests, able to help 500. We do, unfortunately, have to triage the requests. It's about the urgency. Even some of the stories I've just told you, they're all urgent. They're all violent. They're all needed help right away. But in that sense, depending on what region they're reaching out to us from, do we already have a route established? Do we already have partners along the way that can help? And verification, right? The people who reach out to us, is their story that they're saying to us, is this true? Do they have letters of support from friends or family or from some of these organizations? Or there might be some articles, right? If they're outed in the public, outed in the media, those are some of the examples of things we use to verify, and one being partner organizations as well. So Russian LGBT Network, we take referrals from them as well as taking requests for help from the individuals. And so how we do this work is it's a complex.
Yeah, this is fascinating though, Winnie, because I didn't know the inside of this and how it does work. So this is very helpful.
It really, every story, every route, every case individual is different. And it really does depend on where and who referred them to us or if they reached to us individually. And it also depends on what resources they might already have, right? So if they don't have a route, but they're financially stable, they might be able to pay for everything themselves. And yet we just need to guide them along. That is a very rare example. Usually the folks that reach out to us have very little resources because of the cyclical, right, injustices and inequities that LGBTQI individuals face. And something else I do want to point out is that, traditionally we have helped, and the majority of people we do help are cisgendered gay men, because even though they are oppressed, they're an oppressed group, they still have more access and more mobility, say, compared to cis women, to trans women, especially, or trans individuals, because trans individuals, they face employment barriers, housing barriers, like shelter barriers. A lot of women do not have any mobility. So depending on the regions, they might not be allowed to leave their homes without male accompaniment. They might not even have access to any of their travel documents because family members, usually the father, the husband, hold on to them. So these are some of the accessibility issues that we are trying to improve upon to diversify the people we are able to help, because there are just certain barriers and challenges that different demographics face more than others. But when you look at the full community, we're oppressed, period.
Yes.
But there's even further oppressions and intersectionality, that the folks face that reach out to us.
So Rainbow Railroad is not going out and bringing all 500 people back to Canada. That's not how this works.
No, no. So that's another great question. Because that's another misconception is that that everyone we help comes to Canada. In reality, it's a very small percent, actually, maybe even 10%. It's just depending on the route, again, depending on the established route that we might have. But Canada is not. We help people settle all over the world. Europe being actually one of the friendliest and more accessible places to settle folks.
This is fascinating, Winnie, because the work you're doing, you may be based in Toronto and doing this work, but it is an international job. And you probably don't. How often do you guys meet the people that you're helping?
I wish even more often. I mean, unfortunately, COVID has put a hard pause on that. But it really depends. So sometimes I'll go and visit. So in September, so it would have been 2019 before COVID, I had such an amazing opportunity to go to Spain and go to France to meet some of the people that we have helped. Some people that we do obviously come to Canada, we're able to help, but myself, some of our staff members do travel. Our executive director, Kamali Powell, he does a lot of traveling. So is it that often? It's not. I wish we could meet them more regularly, but we do get an opportunity sometimes to meet the folks we help. And then with this digital world, we do get to meet people more and more virtually, but you can't replace an in-person meeting. Absolutely not.
No, it's the best in person, isn't it? It's one thing we've all recognized how much we miss seeing people face to face. So let's talk about the impact of COVID-19 and the work you do, because I mean, it must present enormous challenges and challenges for the people that you're helping, because now we have this worldwide pandemic on our hands and people can't leave as freely as they would want to.
Yes, exactly. So when the lockdown and pandemic kind of hit more worldwide, we didn't know what was going to happen, right? We had absolutely zero idea how our CIs and or work was going to be impacted, but very, very quickly we assessed the programs that we already have existing, and when we also had a strategic plan that we had created in 2019 to set forth literally all our work between 2020 to the end of 2022. And when we looked at what our strategic goals were, they still all fell in line with what we could still do during the pandemic. So yes, even though our primary program is emergency travel, so it's moving folks from across borders to a safer place, and not knowing. So we moved as many people as we possibly could until the moment borders closed. And then we established a complementary program service. So immediately we were giving livelihood funding to people that had to. So if we were in the planning of their route and we had to halt, our priority was keeping them safe. So sheltered and safe in their place. So we were providing livelihood funding. We expanded and just really almost sped up even more collaborations and partnerships with folks doing the work on the ground to keep people safe in relation to pandemic. So whether it was medical packages that they were giving out, healthcare support, shelter support, we started funding partner organizations on the ground. That way we were able to reach even more people as well. So assisting and supporting people already doing the good work on the ground. We were obviously also keeping an very close eye on crackdowns and purges that were happening, because knowing, when the crisis happens, our community, we're used to being blamed for it, right? Used as a scapegoat. It happened during the HIV/AIDS crisis in the 80s and in Uganda. Uganda is already known as a very unsafe place for the LGBTQI plus community. And a shelter was raided right off the bat, right? It was, I believe it was like mid to end of March. A raid happened under the guise of health regulations being not followed. And so they went in and made many, many arrests. And we heard about that immediately and helped the human rights defenders on the ground and organized to try to get them released. Created a video and kind of made that information known to the world that was already happening. It's so immediate. That's the thing, right? In March, the lockdown started happening around the world. I know other places, lockdowns were happening earlier, but Uganda took advantage and something like that happened right away. So the pandemic obviously has created many, many barriers, but we were able to work through and, because we had that strat plan already set up, it did set up for success in that sense, that even though the pandemic hit, It was unpredictable at first. We just really worked our butts off essentially to get ourselves and our programs running, and then made sure that we were able to support where we support. This funding, travel, all of that. We also do a lot of information sharing, right? That's another way we help folks. People who reach out to us, again, like I said, leaving their hometown or country is not their first choice. And so we give a lot of information and also connect people with organization and information. So they might essentially not necessarily need to leave, but if they have community groups or programs that they can seek in their region and get help that way and support, that's really important as well.
How much does it cost on average to move someone safely?
Mm-hmm. We've been using the figure about 10,000 because that is kind of what we've worked out to be the average. But at the same time, depending on the person, it really ranges, right? Depending on the case, depending on where they're traveling to. Are they traveling, halfway around the world, or are they traveling to, a few hours on a plane? So it really depends on the route they're taking, their personal economic situation, so financial situation, whether they have resources or not. Again, I already mentioned most folks that reach out to us don't, but some do. That's the thing. Some people only need the information and then they could do the rest themselves, or their own networks, or their own fundraising capabilities, or their supports. So 10,000 is kind of a easy number to kind of communicate with, because again, that kind of includes everything that comes with it. But at the same time, a case can easily cost up to 35 and plus, and then another case could cost zero because they already had some other supports and just needed information from us.
Mm-hmm. And I asked because you did have a campaign in 2020, right? The 60 and 60 campaign?
We made, I believe, just plus 600,000. It put us in the best cash position we ever even saw ourselves as Rainbow Railroad since, becoming a nonprofit. So did we ever expect to help more people than we ever have in a year, and also raise more money than we ever have in a year? And in our final year campaign, the year closing 60 and 60 campaign, where that money essentially has helped. And so budgeting, planning into another unpredictable year, we weren't sure what was going to happen. But what we were predicting, we've already surpassed the numbers of people we were able to help again, because we noticed at the onset of the year, borders were open. Let's take advantage of it. We have people who are, and I think that's one of the things that make Rainbow Railroad the most unique, right? In COVID, outside of COVID, is that you donate your money, we take that money almost immediately, and we're helping someone right away because we have a long queue. And so the moment we have that money, we could get people out of that waiting list and moving people. And essentially, when this year opened up and borders weren't closing 100%, we were moving people as fast as possible.
Right.
So it's a lot of work. That's the thing. It's not as simple. It's like, okay, we have the money, we have borders open, let's do it. It's constantly, it's almost like a Tetris and puzzling of all the various pieces, right? And making sure that, top priority is the safety, right? Safety of our case individuals, and where they are. With the pandemic, you have obviously a contagious virus disease that can, so even when we're thinking of sheltering, where people are sheltering, where people are going, how they access the travel, and the layers and layers of other risks that are involved now when it comes to the pandemic. So we have to also be very, very clear, very, very honest and open about these risks, and making sure that everyone understands. And we're also building in the time for these additional risks. But so far in 2021, we've been able to help, again, more people than we had expected. And as this opens up, or as it stays open, more money we can get, the more people we can get off the waiting list.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It is it's not a straight line. It's very complex and layered, and you are dealing with people internationally around the world. Okay. So one of the things that we like to do is thank our guests for their time, for being here. And we give back, and we ask them to choose a charity, usually, and one that's close to their hearts. And so I know that the one that's closest to your heart is Rainbow Railroad. Absolutely. And so for this episode, TELUS will be giving $500 to Rainbow Railroad. So it's just our thank you for your time here, and really helping us, as you said, right, peel back the layers and see what what this is about and how our money that we donate to Rainbow Railroad goes to help people escaping an unsafe life. So as we move forward and we think about a better future, right? I guess I'm interested in what the dreams of Rainbow Railroad are. Can you maybe explain some of the things that you really hope as we look forward and try to, be better?
Yeah, support the cause, absolutely. That future of us being out of work, and not having this horrible challenge to face, it's not coming anytime soon, unfortunately. Just as we look in the world and all the chaos and all the inequities that are coming up. It's not going to happen anytime soon. But what people can do, and as you already expressed, if you want to do something tangible, donate, support us, support our work, support our partners. Very, very important. Number two, educate yourself. Educate yourself on what is happening around the world. Educate your friends, your networks. Spread that information. And then three, subscribe and share. So you can educate yourself by already subscribing to whether it's our e-newsletter, our social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Because we're constantly updating and producing information about what's happening all over the world. ILGA is another great resource, which is the International Lesbian, Gay, Trans, Bi Association, which Rainbow Road is a member of, and I'm on the board as well of ILGA North America and Caribbean. So following groups like that, so again, educating, learning more about different organizations all around the world or within your region, depending on your interests, and how to support them, and just knowing, right, being up to date on what is happening all around the world to our community. And then again, supporting and spreading the word however you can. I think those are just the most immediate and tangible things you can do. Anything I think beyond that will just make people more frustrated, and just, it's hard. Right now, we're just living in such a hard time. And, speaking to donors and stakeholders, many of them say that they donate and support us because they just feel like they don't have any, they feel almost that they can't do anything else right now because the world's a bit overwhelming and it's been so frustrating. A lot of American donors I spoke to, because we were on 60 Minutes a couple years ago, and I did a ton of phone calls to thank donors from the States, and almost every single one of them talked about how apologetic they were about the Trump administration and how frustrated with that. And when they heard about Rainbow Road, they immediately wanted to support us in reaction to what they couldn't really do in their own country. So for me, that was very telling, right? In the sense of people do support us. And I think people have been, if anything, our support has increased over the year in the pandemic because people just feel like they can't do anything themselves in other ways of really tangible, meaningful things. And as the world, all the atrocities that are happening all over, donating, whether it's $5, whether it's $10,000, whatever you can do, making that donation or support or letting people know about our mission is what they felt that was the most satisfying in that sense. It was tangible, something that they can act on and they knew was going to help someone.
Right. This is about another human being, and we all need to help each other. We all need to help each other. And I cannot tell you how much I loved this conversation with you because I learned so much. And once again, I thought I kind of knew. And here you've taught me even more. So I really appreciate it. And, so everybody can go to rainbowrailroad.org.
Yes.
And all the information is there. And also on Twitter at Rainbow Railroad. But one thing I do want to note is that TELUS is doing something I think pretty incredible from June 14th to the 30th. If you rent any movie in the Optic or Pick TV Celebrate Pride video on demand, all proceeds up to a maximum of $15,000 will go to Rainbow Railroad. So there's a start, right?
Yes, that's something. When businesses, corporations, when they reach out and support, because again, there's so many causes, so many organizations out there. And again, it's such a time of turmoil that So thank you. Thank you for having me. I really also thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for that support. TELUS, wonderful. Bottom of my heart, happy Pride season, and yeah, just fantastic that you're such true supporters of our work. Thank you.
Well, happy Pride season, and thank you so much, Winnie. I truly loved this conversation. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to another episode of TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Be sure to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for another conversation. You can also check out our website, telus.com/podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at TELUS Talks.